Before this video begins, I would like to say a huge thank you to everybody who has helped me reach 1,000 and now 4,000 subscribers. I have no idea how my channel grew so much in less than a week, but thank you to everybody who has subscribed. There will be more on this subject at the end of the video, but for now, thank you for subscribing and please enjoy the video. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Five Nights at Freddy's is a series filled with a large roster of characters, some good, some bad, and some in the middle. However, there are a few characters who people either ignore or have a strong disdain for. While I share this view for a few characters, there are plenty of characters who I think either get too much hate or do not get the recognition that they deserve. So, for this video, I am going to be counting down who I think are the top 10 most underrated Five Nights at Freddy's animatronics. This video is purely based upon my opinions on who I think are animatronics who either do not get enough recognition or are overly hated, but feel free to share your own opinions in the comments section. With the introduction out of the way, let's begin with number 10. For number 10, I have chosen Yendo. When first deciding on this list, I was surprised to learn that Sister Location has actually been Yendo's only appearance so far. While Yendo does not have much of an effect on Sister Location as a whole and is not one of my favorite characters, I thought that he was a very interesting Easter egg within the game, and his custom night mechanics were quite interesting, since they implied a connection between him and Golden Freddy. I honestly wish that Yendo was revisited more after Sister Location, since there are so possibilities for his true identity, with theories suggesting that he could have been the endoskeleton of a Funtime Fredbear, or could have had some involvement in the origins of Lefty. Another reason why I find Yendo to be underrated is because he commonly falls victim to a misconception that he is not canon and does not affect the lore, which is disproven by his Easter egg appearance within the Funtime Auditorium. However, one aspect about Yendo that I always found to be quite odd was that, if you fail to repel him when he rarely appears, you are still attacked by Funtime Foxy. I wish that Yendo was given a jump scare at this opportunity, before the custom night, since this may have made him more memorable and may have increased his chances of appearing in later games. For number 9, I have chosen Shadow Freddy. This is a very similar case to Yendo, where the character had a lot of potential in terms of backstory, but was largely neglected and forgotten. When people discuss the Shadow animatronics, many people just discuss RXQ while ignoring Shadow Freddy. While I admittedly prefer RXQ, I still think that Shadow Freddy deserves some attention as well. While his design is a recolored version of Golden Freddy, his dark purple color scheme makes him seem very mysterious and creepy. When Five Nights 2 was first released, Shadow Freddy's purple color scheme caused many fans to theorize that he was seduced by William Afton during the missing children incident. Even though that is no longer the case, there is still a very interesting story behind him. If you follow the theory that Golden Freddy is possessed by two spirits, then the theory also suggests that Shadow Freddy is the result of the crying child projecting his agony into his surroundings, which I think is very interesting. While Shadow Freddy is not one of my favorite animatronics, I still find him to be a very interesting and mysterious character. It is honestly quite surprising that his last appearance was Five Nights at Freddy's World 5 years ago. Also, no, Dark Freddy does not count. For number 8, I have chosen the Plush Babies. When Help Wanted was first released, the Plush Babies were met with almost universal disdain, due to people finding their dark rooms stage to be extremely frustrating. While I agree that their stage is quite difficult during a first playthrough, I honestly believe this argument to be fairly over-exaggerated. In fact, Fun with Plush Baby is probably one of my favorite stages in Help Wanted, since I find it to be very fun and challenging. I also consider it to have some of the most tension in the game. since you need to listen for specific sound cues in order to determine where each plush baby is without using up too much battery power, and because I think that the plush babies have one of the scariest attack screams in the series. Besides, I would much rather play this stage than Night 4 of Sister Location. Seriously, that night was terrible. However, another argument that people give when criticizing the plush babies is that they feel very redundant, due to Circus Baby's pre-existing sidekicks Bidybab and Electrobab. While I somewhat agree with this argument, I honestly prefer the plush babies, since I felt that Bidybab and Electrobab were fairly wasted in Sister Location, while I felt that the plush babies were used to their full potential in Help Wanted. The only instance where I would agree that their mechanics are frustrating is the plushkin patch in Curse of Dreadbear. For number 7, I have chosen Music Man. To be honest, I find the arguments made against Music Man to be rather hypocritical, specifically the argument that he is too creepy to be used as children's entertainment. Whenever I hear this argument, I keep thinking, has everybody forgotten about Mangle, the very definition of creepy children's entertainment? Granted, I vastly prefer Mangle over Music Man, but my point is that it is quite hypocritical to criticize an animatronic for a quality that was praised in another animatronic. On the subject of Music Man's design, I think that it is very creative. Just like Mangle's design, these two characters are actually quite similar when you compare them, as they are both unsettling pieces of children's entertainment. Both have mechanics that are related to sound, albeit in different ways, and both bear strong resemblance to spiders in Music Man's case, due to his legs, and in Mangle's case, due to their method of traveling through the pizzeria. As for Music Man's appearance in Ultimate Custom Night, his noise meter, while frustrating to balance, was quite an intense and surprising mechanic, considering his occupation as a musician. A lot of people are not fans of his voice, but I honestly think that it suits him perfectly and is one of the most underrated voices in the game.
You hear that? It's the sweet, sweet sound of your eternal silence!
For number 6, I have chosen another pizzeria simulator character, this time being Orville Elephant. Aside from Mr. Hippo, the mediocre melodies are largely overlooked by fans, being dismissed as appropriately mediocre. While I am not a huge fan of Pig Patch or Ned Bear, I do quite like the other three members of the group. While Mr. Hippo is admittedly my favorite of the mediocre melodies, Orville is definitely my second favorite and, in my opinion, the most underrated of the group. First of all, I think that he has the most unique design of them all, since he is an elephant, a species that was never incorporated into an animatronics design before. Secondly, he has a unique occupation, being a magician, rather than just a singer or a guitarist. Finally, while his Ultimate Custom Night voice is admittedly one of the more forgettable voices from the game, it certainly fits his design and personality. Another detail that I appreciate about Orville is his role in Mr. Hippo's stories, implying that there is a lot of history between these two characters. If either of them make it into special delivery at some point, then I would really like for their voice lines to develop their relationship more, especially from Orville, since he never mentions Mr. Hippo in his Ultimate Custom Night voice lines. While I think that Magician Mangle is a better magician, Orville should have his time to shine as well.
Now is my time to shine!
Number 5, I have chosen Plush Trap, the first of 3 spring traps on this list. Some of you may be surprised to see Plush Trap on this list, especially with the hype surrounding his appearance in Special Delivery over 2 months ago. However, I have decided to include him on this list because I feel that he is mostly overshadowed by the rest of the Nightmare animatronics. Many claim that he feels very out of place in the group, which is understandable since Plush Trap has the least exaggerated design of the Nightmare animatronics. However, a lot of people seem to completely ignore his status as a Nightmare version of Springtrap, even to the point where the Mimoji virtual stickers made up their own version of Nightmare Springtrap. While this character looks interesting, it is still no replacement for Plushtrap. You are free to disagree, but to me, Plushtrap is definitively Nightmare Springtrap, as well as one of my favorite characters. I think that a plush toy animatronic was an interesting choice, and his minigame in Five Nights at Freddy's 4, while challenging, could be very helpful if you wanted to skip the first 2 hours of the next night. Of course, his appearance in Special Delivery was fantastic, as it presents a lot of possibilities for new mechanics for different characters in the future. However, I was a little disappointed that Plushtrap did not receive a voice, even though it is perfectly understandable as to why. I have plans to make a video covering which animatronics I think should get a voice, and, as a spoiler warning, Plushtrap will be extremely high on that list. For number 4, we have the only skin on this list, Clown Springtrap. I have already discussed my opinions on this skin in my ranking of the skins up to Katrina Toychika, so I will keep this section fairly brief. Like I mentioned in that video, Clown Springtrap is one of, if not the most hated skin to be created for Special Delivery. While I can understand why a majority of people do not like this skin, it is honestly one of my favorites so far. I think that a killer clown skin was an excellent choice for Springtrap, since he is a serial killer himself. The skin itself looks rather creepy, with its hulking build, clown makeup, and enormous hammer. However, I agree with people that this should have been a skin for Balloon Boy. When Clown Springtrap was first released, Balloon Boy was one of the only characters in the game to not have a skin, despite being in the game since its launch. Of course, this has changed with the introduction of Swamp Balloon Boy and, more recently, Frostbite Balloon Boy. Meanwhile, Springtrap already had Toxic Springtrap and Flaming Springtrap, resulting in him being the only character to have more than 3 skins so far. Now, we have reached who I think are the top 3 most underrated Five Nights at Freddy's characters, and for number 3, I have chosen Nightmare. Aside from Golden Freddy, Nightmare is frequently agreed to be the most mysterious Five Nights at Freddy's character. Unfortunately, this is the reason why Nightmare is commonly ignored, with many fans claiming that he is too mysterious and does not really seem to have a place in the lore. While I agree that Nightmare is perhaps a little too cryptic, I cannot deny that he is also one of the scariest animatronics in the entire franchise. I probably should have given him an honorable mention in my top 10 scariest animatronics video. While Nightmare's design is a recolored version of Nightmare Fredbear, his translucent appearance gives him a very unsettling and unearthly presence. While his name could be seen as lazy or generic, I believe that it is intended to symbolize his role as the final, ultimate threat of the game, as if he is the most powerful of the Nightmare animatronics. While I agree that his attack scream is quite underwhelming, his kill screen looks very menacing and sinister. Finally, I think that Nightmare's voice in Ultimate Custom Night is absolutely terrifying and very fitting for this demon-like entity. While I prefer his Halloween replacement, Nightmarian, I still consider Nightmare to be excellently terrifying, even though an explanation really needs to be given for his nature. For number 2, just behind number 1, I have chosen Bonnet. I will admit that Bonnet's status as one of my favorite characters may be due to Bon Bon being one of my favorite characters. Due to how cute they are, Bonnet was introduced in the sister location Custom Night, along with Electrobab and Minerina 2, and these 3 characters often receive a lot of scorn from fans, largely due to the absence of Baby and Inard in the Custom Night. While I agree that Electrobab and especially Minerina 2 were such wastes of character slots, I would heavily disagree for Bonnet. Even if Baby and Inard were included in the Custom Night roster, in place of Electrobab and Minerina 2, there would still be an extra slot left, meaning that Cawthon would need to create a new character anyway. Even though Bonnet's design is a recolored version of Bon Bon, that is still so much better than just changing the lighting of a previous model to create a new character. Another reason why I find Bonnet to be underrated is due to her, similarly to Yendo, commonly falling victim to the misconception that she is not canon to the lore. However, I think that she suffers from this even more than Yendo, since she does not appear in the main 5 nights at all. I wish that, after the release of the custom night, Scott Cawthon had added Bonnet to the main nights as an Easter egg. Similarly to Lolbit and Yendo, she could have perhaps appeared in the circus control room on rare occasions. As for Bonnet's appearance in Help Wanted, I think that it was an excellent idea to pair her up with Funtime Freddy and Bon Bon in their Night Terrors stage, and it made for a very fun, though extremely frustrating stage. Also, seeing her continually popping in and out of the drawers was absolutely adorable. Since Funtime Freddy has already been confirmed to be coming to special delivery at one point or another, then I would really like to see his mechanics involve both of his hand puppets in some form. Before I get to number 1, I would like to quickly cover some honorable mentions. This list was quite easy for me to put together, but there are still some underrated animatronics that I would like to mention. Before deciding on Yendo for number 10, I originally considered Jacko Chica and Jacko Bonnie, due to them being mistaken for non-canon characters and dismissed as reskins for Nightmare Bonnie and Nightmare Chica. However, unlike Yendo, the Jacko animatronics have actually had multiple appearances in the series. While I vastly prefer Jacko Chica over Nightmare Chica, I still think that the latter is quite terrifying and deserves some attention, despite complaints that she was the most irritating animatronic to deal with in 5 Nights at Freddy's 4. While I am honestly not a massive fan of Biddy Bab, I consider her to be underrated in the sense that the promotional materials implied that she would have a massive role in Sister Location, only for her to be relegated to only 2 appearances in the game and 2 blink and you'll miss it cameos in the rest of the series. High Score Toy Chica is honestly my favorite skin of the Arcade Mayhem event in special delivery, mainly due to her color scheme and her 8-bit cupcake. However, I will agree that VR Toy Freddy and Sister Mary Toy Bonnie definitely had better digital suit textures. Speaking of the Arcade Mayhem event, the final honorable mention will go to 8-bit Baby. While she was fairly well received when she was first introduced, I have seen a lot of complaints surrounding her being her own character rather than being a skin. While I understand this argument, I honestly prefer the structure of the Arcade Mayhem event, having 3 new skins and 1 new character, over the structure used for most events, and I thought that 8-bit Baby was the perfect way to conclude one of the game's best events so far. Now, with all of the honorable mentions mentioned, let's finally move on to number 1. Some of you may have already predicted this, but, in my opinion, the most underrated character in all of 5 Nights at Freddy's is Scraptrap. To say that Scraptrap was hated upon his unveiling would be an understatement. The size of 5 Nights at Freddy's entire roster of characters. People have claimed that his design is dreadfully goofy and butchers Springtrap's design. While I can understand these complaints to some degree, I honestly think that Scraptrap receives far too much hate. Before I begin defending him though, I will agree that his design is definitely inferior to Springtrap's design, but it is nowhere near as terrible as people would have you believe. To be honest, when Pizzeria Simulator was first released, I was absolutely terrified of him, due to how much further Springtrap's appearance had deteriorated since the Fazbear's Fright Fire. Since that incident, William Afton's rotten flesh had completely decomposed, revealing his skeleton. He had lost his left arm, leaving behind a long spike of bone, and his costume ears began to rot away. While there are a few contradictions, mainly in terms of his mask and feet, I think that Scraptrap's design does an excellent job at conveying his decrepit and deteriorating state. While I agree that his face looks somewhat goofy, I appreciate how Cawthon went out of his way to create a completely new model for Springtrap, rather than just reusing his previous model with a charred texture. Similarly to the final sister location cutscene, Scraptrap was also our introduction to the voice of William Afton, which sounds appropriately sinister.
How can I resist a promise such as this?
As for Scraptrap's appearance in Ultimate Custom Night, while his mechanic is fairly easy to counter, the violent vent clambering sounds and the flashing lights provide him with a very panic-inducing introduction. So far, these have been Scraptrap's only 2 appearances, but I hope that the negative stigma surrounding him does not deter Illumix from bringing him to special delivery in the future. Perhaps another appearance could improve the general opinion of him. With that being said, those are all of the reasons why I find Scraptrap to be the most underrated Five Nights at Freddy's character of all time. Before the video ends, I would like to quickly cover a few things. First of all, I would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, even though this video will be released after Christmas Day and before the New Year. This has definitely been one of the toughest years in recent history, and let's hope that 2021 will be a huge improvement. Secondly, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I would like to thank everybody who has subscribed to my channel and helped me to reach 4K. I was planning to make a 1000 subscriber special, but my subscriber count has somehow shot up to 4,000 in less than a week. I would like to say a huge thank you to everybody who has helped my channel to grow, and I hope to continue making videos on YouTube for quite a while. Thirdly, I would like to thank everybody who has been sending animatronics in special delivery. This has helped to unlock Easter Bonnie and Swamp Balloon Boy, who were the only 2 animatronics that I did not have when I made the workshop video. Now, I just need the plush suits for Golden Freddy, Frostbite Balloon Boy, and Frost Plush Trap in order to complete the workshop. Finally, I would like to address the Five Nights at Freddy's Easter eggs video that I mentioned during my extra unused content video. Unfortunately, that video has been scrapped, mainly due to feedback on my unused content video, surrounding my use of text-to-speech. While a lot of people seem to enjoy my use of text-to-speech, a lot of people did not seem happy about having to listen to text-to-speech for almost an hour. Also, I recently came up with the idea to make a long Five Nights at Freddy's Facts video in the future, which can cover multiple areas of the franchise, such as Easter eggs, cut content, and general trivia. As a result of these 2 factors, I have decided to cancel my Easter eggs video. I deeply apologize to everybody who was excited for that video, but I promise that I will work hard on the facts video. Concerning its length, it will be anywhere from 300 facts to 1000 facts. With all of these points being addressed, that will be all for this video. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to share your own opinions in the comments section, and please subscribe to the channel if you would like to be notified about my newest uploads. Thank you for watching and Merry Christmas.